Hello, hello. Welcome back to this week's KARENisms. Almost said the wrong show. Oh boy. This week's KARENisms. And a lot of things have happened in life, and we got to learn to do things the right way. And we're going to talk about one of the great things you can do to do things the right way. And, I talk about planning your life so life doesn't plan you. And this will be one of the things to tell us about that. In the meantime, it was Jace's birthday last weekend. Jace, come on in. Let's talk about that. How
Hi,
was your
Karen.
birthday?
It was all good actually. We just had some movie night with my sisters and my cousins, and it was a really good night. So
I am so, so glad. You got to celebrate that birthday for like weeks and weeks at a time. So I hope you celebrate again next weekend. Um, I
and
now I have
that was a great birthday song.
there you go. um, so I have a very important question to ask you. We've been talking about the things that I have you do. And
Yeah.
sometimes I ask you to do things that just aren't that important. So, what's a great way for me to just ask you the important things and get the right things done first?
Mhm. Well, for me, I just usually go it easy for my day first. I go in with your email. I always make sure that everything during that day, because everything that should happen this day, I should have done them. It's either yesterday or the other day. So
Mhm.
everything should be ready by now. So I think you're doing good with asking me what are the things that should be ready on that day, just so that I could also remind myself if there are things that I can
Yeah.
forget. But yeah, I think one of the best things that, not only you, but other people can do also when they have their virtual assistant is to make sure that if there are any important things that needs to be blocked on their calendar on the day, they should tell them just so that we can also remind you guys as well.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Jace had to start doing that with me, and he'd remind me, "You got a doctor's appointment today. Did you remember?" And sometimes I did not. And so, thank you, Jace, for keeping me on target and on time. And you made a great comment about a lot of the things should have been done yesterday. Maybe they came in after it was time for you to go home. And, prioritizing at work is different than prioritizing your life to some degree.
Yeah.
And with all things, my mom used to tell me it, and I did a short just saying this, but one of the things my mom always says is only put off for tomorrow what you're willing to die having left undone. So, how many things do we put off until tomorrow? And, we talked about this a couple weeks ago about leaving a love letter, writing a love letter to a friend or family member. Well, that's one of those things like, "Yeah, it's not important to my job. So, do I really have to do it right now? Oh, I'll get to it. I'll get to it later today." And then later today comes and we're busy doing other things. And when we forget about it, oh, I'll do that tomorrow. And you never know when tomorrow won't come.
That's
And
right.
you never know. And I'll tell a story about that another day. Uh, but it's really, really, really important that we prioritize and that we understand the importance of prioritizing. Is it all right if I tell a tale about a college professor and a object lesson he did with his kids?
Yes, I always love your stories. I will always look forward for them.
Well, here's the story. uh, College professor gets up in front of his students and he puts a whole bunch of rocks into a big glass bucket. And he said, "Is this bucket full?" And all the students went, "Well, yeah, it's completely full." Because I mean, the rocks were right up to the edge. And he said, "Are you willing to bet your grade that it's full?" And they're all like, "Well, yeah, you can see that it's full." And so then he picked up a bucket of small pebbles and he poured the small pebbles in and he kind of shook it a little bit and he filled it all the way up. So now it had the big rocks and the small pebbles. And he says, "Now is it full?" And they all looked at each other and went, Yeah, now it's full. Can't possibly get any more full. I mean, you just took up all the empty space. And he said, are you sure? Would you bet your grade on that? And they're all like, well, yeah, man, now I don't know because you tricked us the last time. So then he picks up a bucket of sand and he pours the sand in with the pebbles and the big stones. And he gets the whole bucket in. And now he says, now is the bucket full? And in unison, they're all saying, yes, now it's completely full. And he said, would you be willing to bet your grade on that? And you can imagine everybody's going, well, there can't possibly be anything else. And so then he picked up a bucket of water and he poured the water in over the sand, the pebbles, and the stones. And the bucket filled. The full bucket went in. And he said, now is it full? And at this point, they don't know what to answer because, he's proven them wrong 3 times already. So, maybe, maybe not. And he said, now it's full. But if I'd have put the water in first and then put the sand in, the sand would have fallen and overflown. And if I'd put the water in and then the sand and then put the pebbles in, we'd only gotten a few pebbles. If I did the sand and the pebbles and then the stones wouldn't have fit because the sand and pebbles had already filled it up. And so it goes back down to Stephen Covey's first things first. The rocks, the big stones, they represent the most important things in your life. They're the things that if everything else went away and you still had them, you'd have a full life. This is your loved ones. This is your health. This is maybe your partner, your family, your friends, those kinds of things. These are the things that you want to put first. Those love letters, this is a love letter. Write a love letter because that's part of putting your family first or your friends first or your whatever first. Okay. So these are those things that are most important. And if you put them in first, it appears that the bucket's full, but you still have plenty of room for other things. Plenty of room for other things. The pebbles are the important things you need to do. And they're the things that Jace talked about because those are the things that really evolve around maybe work or outside activities. This might be your email or your job, your house, your clothes, your car, making the car payment. I mean, those are things that are important and you need to do. And you want to take care of those things, but you got to take care of the really big things first. And then you have time and energy and room for all of the pebbles, for all of those important things. And Covey calls those first two. The first one, the big rocks. These are urgent and important. Urgent and important. The pebbles are urgent. Nope, they're not. The pebbles are important, but not urgent. They're important, but they're not urgent. Okay, so you've got your urgent and important. You're important, but not urgent. You got to do them fast, but you got to do the urgent things first. Then you get to your sand. The sand is the stuff that happens. These are the things that come up. These are the meetings that get called at the last minute. These are the, what could it be? It could be the water pipes need to be fixed. They didn't break yet because then that would go in another category. But it's the water pipes need to be fixed. It could be that somebody knocked at the door and you need to answer the door. It could be the 15 emails that came in unexpectedly that you have to take care of. It could be that phone call. They're urgent because they're right there in front of you and got to get done, but they're not necessarily important. If you didn't get them done, your life wouldn't come to an end. So they're urgent, but they're not important. So they can be put off. You want to do important things first. You do the urgent and important, then the important but not urgent, and then you go to the urgent but not important. And the final thing is the water. And the water is everything else. Water is the little things that just will flow into life. And you can always put water in the bucket. And it doesn't matter if you've got just the big rocks or just the big rocks and pebbles, or if you got the rocks, pebbles, and sand, the water will always go in. And these are the niceties that come along. They're not urgent. They're not necessarily important. You can live without them, but they make it a little bit easier, a little bit nicer. So you want to remember to keep things going in the order of which they really do matter. So, the water could be a dinner party. Well, what happens if you cancel a dinner party? Well, it's disappointing. Okay, it's disappointing. Well, but is it something that's going to be life altering? Not so much. Okay, so again, put in the big things first. First things first, as Stephen Covey says, put in the first things first and then the others. Now, if you fill up, like I said, if you put in just all the sand first, forget the water, because we know we can always pour the water in at some point. But if you put in all the sand first, and then you put in a few pebbles, because that's all that the bucket will take, you can't squeeze in those urgent and important things. You just can't squeeze them in. So you want to remember to put in the urgent and important things first, the big rocks first, then the important things that are not necessarily urgent, but they're important. It's important to keep your job. It's important to make your house payment. Those things are important. And then to do the other things that come along that just interrupt your day. But if you've taken care of the urgent and the important and not urgent, if you've taken care of the important things first, then those other not important urgent things you have plenty of time for them. So they're not as much of an interruption because you've already got everything else filled in where it belongs. And then again, the niceties in life always will fit in if you prioritize right. If you prioritize right. Now, I want to go back to my mom's quote: only put off for tomorrow what you are willing to die having left undone. I'll tell the story much later, but I had somebody very near and dear to me that used to write love letters to their friends and family all the time. And this to them was urgent and important. These were the big rocks, the big ones. And they were constantly writing love letters. And I don't mean, oh, I love you, you're wonderful. It was, I just want you to know I appreciate you. And I notice that you do A, B, and C, and it's admired and appreciated. I always appreciate how you go out of your way to A, B, and C. And I want you to know that it's seen and appreciated and that it doesn't go unnoticed. Those kinds of things. Well, this friend of mine had something happen, so they couldn't write these love letters. And I tell you what, I got my love letter in the mail the day after this thing happened to him. And it was real humbling to me because had they put off for tomorrow, they may have died having left undone. But they didn't put off till tomorrow. And so those are important things to keep in mind. You always want to plan your life, because if you don't plan your life, life will plan you. And if you're going to plan your life, prioritize it right. Put in the big stones, the priorities that are urgent, friends, family, loved ones, sharing, communication, those things. And then do the important things. Take care of your finances, take care of your job, do the things that you need to do. And then do the other things after that. This is where now you do those phone calls and all of these other things. Remember, remember, remember. Do the most important things first. Because if you don't, you won't find time to do them later. And again, you don't want to put off for tomorrow what you could die leaving undone. So, that being said, Jace, what are you not going to put off for tomorrow now?
My mic was off. I'm sorry about that.
That's
But
okay.
one thing that you always told was about the love letters. And now I will never forget to call my mom every day and tell her that I appreciate her. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I will always do.
Well, I tell you what, I have three beautiful children, beautiful grown adult children, most of whom have children of their own. And I have one child that calls me every day and texts me several times throughout the day. And if something were to happen to them, there would be no question in my mind that they love me. And if something happened to me, I know there'd be no question in their mind how much I love them because we talk every day. And I have another one that goes through periods where we talk all the time and then periods where we don't talk at all. And, I can call as easily as they can. So I'm not blaming it on them. So don't hear that. I can call as easily as they can. And I laugh at my mom because she'll do this. She won't call because she knows I'm busy and doesn't want to interrupt me. Well, I don't call my kids because I know they're busy and I don't want to interrupt them. And what do I tell my mom when she says that? Yeah, I got going and I just forgot. So call me, call me. And so now I have to take that advice and call my kids. And then I've got the third one who truly is busy all the time. He's got little tiny kids and has got a job that he's working 60 to 80 hours a week. And he's got all of these other things that he's doing, blah, blah, blah. And we rarely talk. I know he loves me, but we rarely talk. And if something were to happen to him, I would feel horrible that I didn't tell him I loved him one more time. If something were to happen to me, I would feel horrible that he didn't hear recently that I love him and that I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of all three of my kids. They all have very different talents and skill sets, and they're all amazing. My one son with all the kids that's so busy is the best dad I have ever seen anywhere. He is phenomenal. He's bright, he's smart. There isn't anything he can't figure out and learn how to do. The other one that calls me periodically, and we go through spurts where it's like every day, several times, and then it goes, spurts where we just both get busy. They are talented in everything, crafts and art and people and taking care of stuff. And again, really, really bright, can do anything that comes their way. And then the one I talk to constantly, all the time, always, we never lose touch. Again, wonderful parent, learned a new skill set, is doing great with their new skill set. And I would say they've all put their priorities first, and I may or may not be a priority. That doesn't make me good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't make them good, bad, or indifferent. But I know for me, if I really put my priorities straight, I'd be calling them or at least texting them every day, telling them one thing that I admire about them, because they all have things I admire. So kids, if you're listening, I love and admire you and I adore you.
That's
And
beautiful.
you are one of my rocks, not my pebbles. You're a rock. So I will do better at sending my love letters, be it via mail, a phone call, or a text message. So I needed this lesson today.
Yeah, me too. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. With that being said, I think we've got nice, short, and sweet. We're going to try and keep KARENisms more short and sweet, get to the point and move on. Remember to join us every Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And if you want to know more about my coaching, be sure and contact me. Be sure and join us Wednesday for Power Surge. We got another great guest coming up this Wednesday. And join us for Power Surge. And again, that's Wednesdays, same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. And we have great guests, and they always share wonderful tips and information and ways to make your life better. All of that being said, I love and adore all of you. Mwah. Ciao for now. Thank you for watching this episode of KARENisms. If you found anything interesting, entertaining, or useful, please be sure and hit the like button. Now, to find out more about me, my coaching, events, or even resources, go to drkarenperkins.com. Again, that's Dr. Dr. Karen, Karen, Perkins, Perkins.com. And if you haven't already, subscribe.